Well, my name is Hans Last, and I'm originally from Niagara-on-the-Lake, although I was born here in St. Catharines in October of 1969. I grew up in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and am the youngest of four children. My parents immigrated from Germany, my dad's family, in 1954, and he went back in around 1961, and him and my mom got married, and they came and landed in May of 1962. And then they had my oldest sister, then a second sister, then my brother, then myself. And unfortunately, in 1999, late 1999, I lost a sister, like my one sister due to anorexia, and the rest of us, my oldest sister is currently living in the Ottawa with, she has two kids and one grandchild, and I have a brother who has two boys. He's living in Paris, Ontario, and is working quite busy life. And so, so that's that. And myself, of course, grew up in Niagara-on-the-Lake, but I also have always had a vision impairment. I've had only had partial sight when I was born, and I went to a school for the blind in Brantford, Ontario, the W. Ross Macdonald School, from between 1975 and 1990. And then during that time, I did actually go to kindergarten in Parliament Oak School in 1974 for 1 year. And so I was just with regular kids. And then my parents actually heard about the School for the Blind in Brantford through a doctor in Sick Children's Hospital. I think his name was Dr. Crawford. And so it sounded very good. They were very impressed and decided they would send me to the school. And it was a residential boarding type school where I'd go on Sunday evenings and return and stay in residence through the week and come home usually late Friday afternoons after a half a day of school for Fridays. And I'd always get picked up on Fridays. I'd always get brought directly to the house, and Sundays I was always picked up from the Fairview Mall here in St. Catharines, and that was usually about 4:30ish I was picked up. And it was about an hour and a bit to the school, 2 hours, and then some route adjustments made that changed that a bit. But so, and then I just have half of the day of school on Friday, and then after lunch Friday get on the bus and come back here, get dropped off at my house in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and that was usually about 3:30, 4 o'clock, somewhere around that time. And so, and as far as the kind of person I am, people have always said, and I always feel the same way, that I was fairly introverted, I guess. An introvert would be the best way. I keep a lot to myself, although I have interacted with people my age some, and even going into kindergarten back before, I seem to not have any issues with being bullied or made fun of or anything like that. I don't remember a lot of the experiences, but I do. My mom did tell me about actually somebody who used to, I guess, kind of look out for me, do up my coat for me, and do my hood up, and just help with stuff like that. And other than that, nothing really too bad. We just did show and tell, and getting up in front of the class. One time we just talk about different things. I know one time we talked about one of the an animal we had, because we lived in an older house in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and we had a walk-in attic, and there were raccoons that would roam around, because there were old chimneys in the house from when there were wood stoves in there before we got it. So the raccoons would get into there and crawl around in the walls, and one of the raccoons had a baby, and they had it in the attic, and so we took it as a pet for a while until it started growing up and getting older and showing its traits, and so my dad dropped it off and just got rid of it. And and then we've had, pets. We've had two cats growing up, and then eventually one had to be put down, so we had the other one until 1978. And for myself, I do have memories about 5 years old of this dog coming around. One of the neighborhood dogs would come around to my house and would take specifically to me. It seemed its name was, I know I think it was a collie dog. I know it was beige, and it had the little white across the back of its neck, like a lot of the images that you see of Lassie. It had that big white band around the back of its neck like that, but it was the fur was a light beige, and it always seemed to take to me more so than the other siblings, and it would follow me around. And going to kindergarten at Parliament Oak School, from what I was told, I don't remember much about this, but my sister would tie the dog up at the school somewhere on at the fence, and when I would leave with my mom to go home, the dog would come home with me, and we would go to different places, and the dog would like to come with me. Even going to milk, we would, like my mom and I used to go to a local farmer to get the milk for us, and usually we'd go in the evenings, and a time or two the dog would come with me, and so it was at least a couple-mile walk, so it was a pretty good hike, and so we'd just sit there and visit, and yeah, and then come back, and then so let's see what else. That's.
I mean, it sounds like you had a lot of fond memories with your family growing up.
Yes, yeah, I did have some. Yeah. I mean, I was, because of, as I said, my vision impairment there were some challenges because not being able to see as good, I couldn't do quite as much stuff as the others could, and I think I was undermined though, because I think they didn't fully credit me for the sight I had, and so I think I could have maybe done a little more, but I always tended to be curious about things, always exploring the world around me, seeing what was where, and so that's one of the things, so one of the challenges, I guess, that say was being a child, and then because of that, being away at the school during the week, I didn't really grow up around people my own age, except for my siblings, and of course they, as time wore on, they went on and moved on, and they had their own friends and their own lives, and so I just, I didn't really have much in the way here. I do remember one friend in the mid-1980s. He was here from St. Catharines, and but then he left the school, and he still kept in contact for a while, but then we lost contact in around the 1990 or so. He contacted my parents' house, and of course I didn't remember the phone number, otherwise I would have returned his call, and that was the last I'd heard of him. So, but.
Now you said that in school you feel like you had more sight than they gave you credit for. Would you mind explaining what that was like, and how did the progression go for you losing your sight, and what would, for someone who has never experienced that, would you mind explaining what, when that happened, what could you see, and what changed?
Well, I always could only see out of my left eye, and I could never read regular size print. When I would look at something, I would have to hold it up closer, and even then it was a challenge to read. It would have to be larger print. And watching TV, I always sat a little closer that I could really get the full scope of what was going on. And but my right eye I could never see out of, because my eye condition is cataracts, and it's from my mom's side of the family. And my right eye had always had this white covering over it, so I used to get a lot of people staring, wondering what the heck was the matter with my eye. But in terms of sight, I could see fairly well. I didn't need any assistive device to get around. And now when I talk about being, my vision being undermined, I was always had to go with somebody, whether it's my parents, hold on to somebody. And then finally, I took the incentive. We were actually here in St. Catharines in one of the malls one time. I said, is it okay if well, by then I didn't have to hold on to them, but I was always with them. And I said, I'd like to go around and on my own and just go to the different, just check things out for myself and not have to be with you all the time. And so they were a little apprehensive at first, but then finally, okay, yeah, just, meet back at a certain time. And I also, when I was younger too, growing up, I was able to ride a bike, although I had to be much more careful because I could only see out of my left eye. So I couldn't react as quickly to things, and of course if there was more traffic and stuff on the street, I was more nervous, but just around town I could ride no problem. And I know my parents were kind of like, oh, be careful, and but when they realized I could do it, they of course let it go. And the other thing that's always intrigued me was being able to take pictures, because I could see enough to do that. And I finally purchased my own camera from Black's Camera, and that was in May of 1988, which I still have the camera. It was just a basic point and shoot 35 millimeter camera. And then eventually, a couple of years later, I rented a video camera from a place no longer in existence, Granada Rentals. It was a VHS camcorder, and I liked to videotape it because I'd always been curious. I always liked to record stuff and just record it as is, not worried so much about editing or does it look right or not. Rather, I always tried to get it the best I could, and I'd always got a lot of praise from people. Oh, you do really good videos, and so I'd always done that, and always like just to document life around me. And then eventually I did a YouTube channel. I launched that in early 2000, basically just footage around where I was living here in St. Catharines, and I have some footage as well because when I finally purchased the VHS camera that I got in 1990, I would actually walk around and just videotape when I'd be out for walks and things, and just different areas where I was walking, whatever, just like nothing specific, just the area I was, so that I could always refer to back at a later time. And of course, I had no idea that I would one day lose my sight, and my vision loss, that happened, I guess, about 7 years ago now. About late 2017, I started losing my sight. It was like things just got, like I could still see, but things were getting a little more blurry, and I wasn't focusing properly. Like it still looked okay, but I would reach and I would be off, like I wouldn't exactly where it normally was. And so then it just progressively got worse, and the doctor at the time said, oh, it's the cornea. And then there was back and forth going to specialists in Toronto saying, yeah, one said, okay, yeah, their pressure's high, and then the others, no, it's okay. And then it was back and forth and different specialists. And then of course COVID occurred, so that kind of put things, it didn't stop it, but it kind of slowed down the treatment. And so after that, I did finally have the cornea transplant back in 2022, and that was in June. And then about 2 months later, I would find out that my retina was detached, and since then I've got no sight. So, and unfortunately about that though, I still wish like I said, I really miss being able to just do videos. And I mean, I could still do it. How good the shots would be, I don't know, because I can't see it, but I could still do it. And then, so I miss that. And then just being able to walk around and just explore. I can't really do that so easily now because, again, I can't see, although I have a white cane that I travel around, and I can certainly go where I need to go then. But, and then of course I got my smartphone, my iPhone, which I've been using since 2010, like different ones, of course, I've been upgrading, of course, but that's got the speech, and so I was able to use that just fine. And also I had a video camera too. It was a little flip. I had a couple different flip cameras that I would use, and so it would go in the pocket, and it would just have the little dongle that would come out from the side that you could just plug directly into the computer and get the footage right off the camera. And so that just recently quit working for me about the last 6 or 7 months ago. I wasn't able to use it anymore. So then that took care of that. So, but audio recording, I got my first tape recorder for Christmas of 1978. And I'd always liked to record stuff and just different stuff, things, reports on different presents and stuff like that I got, and just different things going on. And of course, a lot of the tapes I recorded over, didn't think nothing of it, but I still have, and which I still listen to every Christmas. It's one I did from Christmas of '78 with my very first cassette tape, and that's over 45 years now. And so, and then another one from a year later, it's just recently started giving up the ghost, was decided I want to pull in the machine, and I think it's ready to bite the dust. I haven't gotten rid of it yet, but it probably will have to end up going because it's just not usable anymore. But it's interesting to look back and reflect on, and even with the videos that I have on VHS, because I kept a lot of those home video type things, so it's always been interesting to just look back and reflect on that and how things were. And so, because I'd always like to do things. And if I could go back and do my life over again, I mean, I probably still could, but if I could go back, and I would probably get into something like documentary work, filmmaking, that kind of thing. But at the time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I've had a lot of people tell me I've got a really good radio voice, so that's something I could have probably gone into. But because of my lifestyle and that, I didn't really have a lot of exposure to getting set up with that and getting the proper training and exposure to that, just not enough guidance and mentoring. And that's how I probably could have done more with my life, and if I'd had the proper guidance and coaching growing up. And so that's unfortunate, but you know, life is what it is. And so,
well, who knows, if maybe there's still an opportunity to do some of that work still.
yes, yeah. Now, because and because I haven't worked, I fortunately have had disability, which was Family Benefits Allowance, now ODSP, and so I managed with that okay. And it's not easy, but I am managing. I am managing. Like, I don't have to run out and buy stuff, like not like some people do. Every 6 months they got to get a new pair of shoes, new clothing, because like I wear clothes. I've had stuff that's 20, 25 years old, some of the clothing I have, and so I don't worry about age. It's more the comfort that matters, and if it's still in good condition, I still wear it. I don't have to change it every year or two like some people do. And so, and that's just, it's just part of not having a lot. You just make do with what you have and just appreciate the things you do have.
How long have you been living in Queenston? I know you were sharing a lot about what you were doing, just with filming and audio recording, and how long have you been living here in this location?
Well, I've been here in Queenston since early 2019, actually. In end of January I moved. I'd actually seen the place before because I was staying at my sister's in Tottenham after my parents moved out of their house where they'd been for the last almost 40 years. And so that was in late 2017. So I stayed at my sister's from 2018 through 2019, and we'd seen on Kijiji in November, because I was looking for a place to stay, and I saw the place and I thought, well, I don't know, it may not be the best because it's still there. And so then we looked again, and I had to come into St. Catharines for something in December of 2018, and thought, yeah, well, maybe we'll take a look while we're down there. And so I did, and I liked what I saw. It was a small one-room studio apartment, and because it's the area is nice, and so I liked it. And somebody actually had the comment that said that, well, you know, maybe God was holding on to that place so you could get it. And the thing I like about the location is that there's 3 bus routes in the, like right here at the corner. There's 3 different buses that go by, so I can go uptown or to the Penn Centre. And of course the Tim Hortons up the road, and then the park's not too far down, the Richard Pierpoint Park, so I can find my way down there. And I didn't have a lot of help. I was able to find my way down there on my own, and so I've walked through part of the path, and I've gone for walks with people too, some of that too. So I've been able to experience, I've had somebody from Westview take a walk who unfortunately is no longer with us, and then I've got somebody else, I guess a friend, a sister of a good friend who is nice enough to take me walking when she's had the chance to do so. And so, yeah, no, I like this area. It's not high end, but I don't need that. As long as I have a roof over my head and the place is in good enough condition, I'm certainly okay with it. And so,
you were talking about just being on a fixed income and some of the challenges. Have you noticed just a rise in food costs, or how has just the rising cost of everything affect you?
Well, it has affected me, but not as much as some, because I guess because, like I say, I don't really get a lot, and I get a lot of the same things. So yes, I have noticed things have gone up significantly, but I'm just more diligent about shopping, and because I use Instacart to get my groceries delivered. I did have relatives helped me before COVID, but then when that sort of came on, they're older than, they're in their 80s themselves, and so it's, they didn't seem to mind helping me, but eventually they just decided that, well, maybe, if you can figure out to do it on your own. And so they, the first few times they just hoped I could manage and were asking if I was managing, and I said that yes, I was. And so, because before I was shopping at one place, and then they didn't have some of the things, so I looked at another store which had it, which was a little bit cheaper. So I just adjust my shopping habits and just get more of the store brand items versus the regular brand items. And so that's, but I mean, utilities, fortunately my rent is not like the, for what I'm paying in rent, I've actually people tell me I'm getting a good deal, because a lot of the rents are going way up, and but mine has, like, it started at $750 when I moved in 2019. Now it's just about $840 roughly, give or take a few cents, and so it's gone up significantly, but it's just because it's been very gradual. It's been within the acceptable guidelines, and so I'm very fortunate about that. And because I'm pretty consistent with my cell service, but those have gone up, but I just pretty much take it in stride, and I'm just careful and just watch my spending and just keep that under control as best I can.
I guess just thinking about, any final thoughts you might have, like what would you like other people to know about your life experience?
Well, basically it's, just appreciate life for what it is. And I mean, with my life experience, it's hard, as frustrating as it is to be with no sight. I know I also know I have to, life goes on, and I just got to keep going. And I know I'm not alone, because there's enough other people that are vision impaired and have no vision, or have recently lost their vision. And life goes on, and as hard as it is, just just keep a positive head on the shoulders, and just know that life goes on, and just make the best of life for what it is, and just do the best, and let God do the rest, as they say.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to share your story with us, Hans.
You're most welcome.